Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically Me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing today? I hope you guys are having a great week. I hope you're all looking forward to the weekend. It's Friday. I'm hoping to get this video out today as I am filming it. So you guys know that I've been working on part 3. Part 3 was going to be the timeline, but I thought I would put this video out separately from the timeline, mainly because I've been getting emails while I've been working on the timeline about another channel called Pandora's Box, and she just went over the timeline in great detail. I didn't watch it because I was working on the same thing, and I don't like watching other people's stuff because I feel like it gets in my head and then maybe my thoughts aren't my own, if that makes any sense. So I didn't watch it because I was still working on my own, but now I'm debating on whether or not to even put out a timeline video. So I'm gonna put the link to Pandora Box's timeline video in the description box below, and you guys can check that out if you haven't already, and then you can let me know whether or not you want me to do my own. I am still scripting it because I was adding inconsistencies with it, and then we were going to get into the Fitbit, but I'm thinking, just because I don't like wasting time, you know, if someone else has already put out a very detailed timeline from the inquest, and that's exactly what I was doing, it's kind of wasting everyone's time if I put out essentially the same thing, just with my opinion on it. I'd rather just focus on inconsistencies. So let me know what you guys think about that. Rather than go through the entire timeline again, we can just go over the inconsistencies in the timeline. So the next video after this one will be about the Fitbit and just the Fitbit. And then we can get into some more inconsistencies with the timeline and witness statements. So again, let me know. I will continue to do the timeline video if you guys want it from me, but we'll just move on for right now. So today we're going to talk about Richard Fife and his testimony. And mainly, we're going to discuss the man in black and how he doesn't exist. Now, okay, you guys, please bear with me. I know I've said a lot of people don't exist throughout this entire facade, but the man in black most definitely does not exist, and we're going to get into that. But first, let me enlighten you on a few things about Richard Fife. So we never heard about this Richard Fife character throughout this entire investigation, if I can even call it that. And we still have yet to see this man, because he was not in attendance at the inquest. And coroner Dr. James Adley is the one who read out Richard's witness statement on Richard's behalf. Of course, we do have a grainy image of a man walking a black lab who is alleged to be Richard Fife, but other than that, we have nothing. According to Richard's witness statement, he entered at the top end of allotment lane with his black Labrador named Lily at 8:50 a.m., where he noted a man in black. Also on his walk, he passes a man walking a dog at 9 a.m., and he continues to walk clockwise around the field and makes it back to the red brick building between 9:10 and 9:20 a.m., where he sees Nikki on the opposite side of the field with her phone out in front of her. On the way back, he saw a woman with her dog before exiting back out of allotment lane at approximately 9:30 a.m. At approximately 9:30 a.m., he notes that this man in black is still there, but later on, when he drove past, the man was no longer there. Okay, let's first talk about an inconsistency with this timeline, in case you haven't noticed it yet. According to the timeline that I took directly from The Independent on the day that they were live covering the inquest, this is their timeline. At 8:33 a.m., dog walker Richard Fife passes a black-clad man as he enters allotment lane in St. Michael's on Wire, heading for the Riverside Path. At 8:34 a.m., Nikki is noted to be at the school, according to her cell phone data, as well as her Mercedes being seen on a police dash cam. The irony. At the same time, Mr. Fife is in the fields beside the river with his Labrador. At 8:41 a.m., Nicola begins walking north over the bridge, and it is there where she passes David Hall, who is walking south. 8:42 a.m., mobile phone analysis shows Miss Bulley starting to walk along the Riverside path and in the direction of the bench. Now, allow me to remind you, the original timeline from February 3rd did state that Nikki was seen at 8:43 a.m. on the towpath. 8:46 a.m., Miss Bulley's phone pings 4 times near the bench beside a bend in the river within an accuracy of up to 7.6 meters. Okay, so that is very accurate, and I'm surprised it's not all written this way, but they made sure to put it in here. 8:47 a.m., Mr. Fife leaves the lower field, passing Miss Bulley, who is walking the other way with her phone held out in front of her. Again, matching the original timeline from February 3rd, where it is said that Nikki was seen in the lower field at 8:47 a.m. Now, they definitely needed to make sure that Richard Fife's statement included him noticing Nikki holding her cell phone out in front of her, matching what DSI Rebecca Smith confirmed in her February 15th press conference.
So Nicola was last seen in the field, which we've called the upper field, at about 9:10 that morning. So at approximately 9:10, a witness that knows her had the last sighting, and that was at the upper field. But we are basing that on obviously the times that we can say that witness left the field. I'd just like to point out that it's really normal for Nicola, when in a Teams call, to be holding her phone out in front of her, listening to it. And we can say from a witness that knows her that morning, that is what she was doing.
Have you noticed anything yet? DSI Rebecca Smith said during her February 15th press conference in reference to Nikki's Teams call, whether or not Nikki would have been holding that phone out in front of her with the camera off and the microphone off. DSI Rebecca Smith said that she knew Nikki was holding that phone out in front of her because there was a witness who saw Nikki with that phone out in front of her, which led me to believe that this witness saw Nikki while she was on the Teams call, holding the phone out in front of her. I also read to you what Dr. James Adley read out on behalf of Richard Fife at the inquest, and I will repeat this part to you. Richard Fife continues to walk clockwise around the field and is back at the brick building between 9:10 and 9:20 a.m., where he sees Nikki on the opposite side of the field with her phone out in front of her. He then exits back out allotment lane at 9:30 a.m., where the man in black was still there. Now, leaving the man in black out for a minute because we're going to get there, do you notice the time discrepancy? And I'm not antagonizing you guys. It's just such an aha moment when you see it that I don't want to steal that moment away from you. I just want you guys to see it before I point it out is all. Okay, now let me go a little bit further down the timeline before my reveal here. This is the timeline again that was given by the Independent on inquest day 1. 8:48 a.m. Nikki's handset location data puts Nikki in the lower field. 8:52 a.m. Nikki is still in the lower field. 8:54 a.m. Richard Fife is caught on CCTV as he walks back up allotment lane, where he is surprised to see this black-clad man is still on the corner by the main road. So at 8:54 a.m., Richard's gone. He's out. He's out of the field. He's back up on allotment lane. So then, how did he see Nikki holding her phone out in front of her between 9:10 and 9:20 a.m.? Because according to this timeline given on the day of the inquest, he was long gone from the fields at 8:54 a.m. Now, many of you guys know Chris and his Substack and that we've been working together. By the way, the link for his Substack will be in the description box below this video. YouTube does not like link sharing in the comment section. So if you've shared links and they disappear, that's why. You almost have to type it out in code so it doesn't show up as a link. It's really weird. Some do, most don't. So just a little heads up. Chris was at the inquest. He was allocated a seat and he was able to get everything firsthand. And he made a lot of notes. And he's continuing with his blog from inside the inquest on his Substack. So please go check that out at outsidethecave.substack.com. Now, Chris and I have been working together for quite some time now, so I would like to share the results of some digging that Chris did into Richard Fife. or shall I call him Rick? During his search, Chris found this Rick Fife, who is a plumbing and heating engineer. But as you notice here, the company address is in France. Yet his email does end with UK, and he has 2 mobile phone numbers, one being a French number and the other a UK number. So anyone could conclude that he has ties to both France and the UK. On Rick's Facebook, it was very easy to establish that he has lived for many years in central France, where his daughter Amy attended secondary school, before at some point relocating to Garstang. Chris messaged Amy, who did reply to his first message, but once Chris stated why he wanted to make contact with her father, Rick, she ended all correspondence. Based off of all these things together, I would suffice it to say that we do have the correct Richard Fife. At the beginning of all of this, that 9:10 a.m. sighting, which was the last sighting, I told you that this sighting was by a man named Keith Barlow, who resides in Rowanwater. You know Keith Barlow, the man with the white fluffy dog whose wife Hillary talked to the Times about his sighting. Now imagine my surprise when Keith Barlow made no statement about seeing Nikki at the inquest, and Richard Fife magically appeared in his place. Now here's where the man in black comes in. Nobody wanted this little switch up to be known, so they had to create a distraction. That distraction being the man clad in black. Interestingly enough, this man clad in black was only seen by Richard Fife. And this is pretty odd because there was someone else on Allotment Lane during this time frame, and that was the woman in yellow pushing the pram. You remember her? We haven't heard much about her at all. And that's because this woman was never important in this entire charade because she never saw anything. But she was caught on CCTV that morning twice. And can anyone remember what time she was caught on CCTV walking up Allotment Lane, as you see here, towards the main road? Yes, it was around 8:40 a.m., which is interesting. And it's interesting because Richard Fife, according to DSI Rebecca Smith, had apparently walked down and returned back via Allotment Lane some 10 minutes after this woman, both times seeing a man in black loitering at the end of the road. So why didn't this woman in yellow tell police about a man clad in black? Surely if she had seen this, she would have reported it, but she reported seeing nothing, no one. Yet she was in the same area as Richard Fife and the man in black. So we know she didn't see Nikki, okay, but she also didn't see the man in black, despite being on the same road at the same time, which is why she also was conveniently excluded at the inquest to provide any statements. Now back to Richard Fife. Are we to believe that a man who resides in France came to visit his daughter in Garstang, and on January 27, 2023, he drove and parked to be able to walk down Allotment Lane through the fields before allegedly returning back to his vehicle and then driving past Allotment Lane just one more time to confirm that the man in black had left? Chris has not only been to the inquest, he's been to the area. He went quite recently after everything had calmed down, and according to Chris, where Richard Fife allegedly parked his vehicle doesn't exist. There is no convenient place to park where Richard Fife stated he parked at. Also, where would this dog have come from? Because Amy does have a dog, but that dog is white. We do have these grainy images of a man with a black dog, but who is it really? And what day was this taken? What time? Because it wasn't Richard Fife. So while a man by the name of Rick Fife does exist, it is my opinion that he was not there that day. He did not see a man clad in black, because the man clad in black was not there that day either. If he were, the woman in yellow would have most certainly reported this. It is my opinion that the man in black was created as another red herring, just like Christine Bauman was used as a red herring at the beginning. Let's everyone focus on the man in black and why he wasn't looked into, right? And hey, I fell for it too. I was like, what the heck is going on with this man in black? How do they not find this suspicious? And then I wondered how they brought it up in the inquest. And Dr. James Adley is the one who read it off. Why would they put that man there to suggest third-party involvement if it didn't happen? Well, it was to distract. If everybody's trying to figure this out, who is this man in black? Why was he not looked into? No one's going to recognize the switch from Keith Barlow to Richard Fife. And Richard Fife was never there, right? Okay, that's all I'm going to talk about on this video. Richard Fife is not the only witness whose testimony was a script concocted by other people, and we're going to get into those people on another video. The next video will be about the Fitbit, and I will see you guys on that one. Please be happy, be healthy, be safe, and most of all, be unapologetically you. Bye-bye.